Hi there, this is Doug Lewis with Revive Amatitlan. Uh, Revive Amatitlan is an organization dedicated to, obviously, reviving Lake Amatitlan. We have two basic premises, or two goals related to reviving Lake Amatitlan. The first is that long term, in order to determine the best investments necessary to revive the lake, long-term financial models should be created based on uh, based on pilots, based on real world situations that closely uh, approximate closely model the execution plan. And I'll go back to that in a moment. The second part, our second tenet, is that Lake Amatitlan is relatively easy to remediate. I would say it's extraordinarily, uniquely easy to remediate relative to any other lake or similar body of water in the world. For example, Lake Atitlan is a more typical case where there are multiple sources of pollution. In fact, in Atitlan, it could be said that every house or village or store or coffee mill beneficio, um, that their effluent from their discharge, which goes into the ground, goes eventually into the lake because there isn't enough time and it's too steep for a proper septic system to work. And so the water just sort of goes downhill and ends up in the lake. And that's typical of where I'm from, Seattle, Lake Washington, or the famous case of Lake Tahoe, where there just isn't enough space and there's too many point sources to treat the water with traditional treatment plants. And so, in those two examples, like Washington and Utah, sorry, Lake Tahoe, the solution was to pipe the sewage from each source by a sewage system outside of the water basin, which is also the plan, and appropriately so, of Lake Atitlan, by the way. In the case of Lake Amatitlan, it's for two geological features, it's far easier than that. Amatitlan, first of all, has one primary source of pollution, the Rio Villois, and the Rio Villois has space on each side adjacent to the river and the river delta that could, if the river were partially, if they were diverted even 100 meters back, anyway, a kilometer or less back, that the water could be held in these both or either of these two locations for long enough that the water could be remediated before it enters the lake. The right-hand side is a series of three lagoons. If it went into, if the river were diverted into either of those three, any of those three lagoons, then the water would be held for 1 to 3 months, which is a long time for treatment plants. And if it went left, it would be a lot more expensive, and there is arguably less space, though the left actually has quite a bit of uninhabited land, so it could be big. There would be a construction cost and some kind of purchase cost, but still, that would be the left would be the second cheapest location to treat the river in order to remediate the river before it enters the lake.